you're witnessing, Grand Lodge directs that, and part of the constitutions of the Grand Lodge of the state of New York, direct that the Grand Master must visit every lodge in the state at least once a year. Now, with over 500 lodges in the state, he physically can't do that. And so this responsibility is delegated to the district deputy Grand Master to make that official visit and present a message that the Grand Master gave at St. John's weekend this year on June 25th. Now, the message itself in its totality has been reprinted in the Empire State Mason, and believe me, I won't pretend to repeat the whole thing verbatim, but I would like to focus on a few of the things in the message that I think are interest and are beneficial. Part of the function also of being here this evening is to sit with the Secretary and Treasurer and the Master and to review certain of the books and records of the Lodge. The function is not to audit them, but to just see that things are being kept in the usual business practices are being kept, and that I can report back to Grand Lodge, because part of what I have to do, my responsibility is to give an annual state of the district and the state of the lodges report to the Grand Lodge, that things are being maintained here in White Plains Lodge in an appropriate fashion. One of the first things that the Grand Master spoke about at St. John's weekend was the fact that over the next few years there will be a gradual increase, $2 per year for the next 5 years, in the Grand Lodge dues structures, starting, I guess, after the next Grand Lodge sessions, because they have to be read again and voted upon at the next Grand Lodge sessions. There is no minimizing the fact that membership of the Masonic fraternity in the state of New York is gradually dwindling, costs are going up, and there has not been an increase in the Grand Lodge dues per capita, as it's called, in a number of years, and so that this will help Grand Lodge considerably. And being phased in at $2 a year, hopefully will not be too onerous for the brothers and the lodges to absorb. One of his comments was that he had not sought to do anything dramatic or as opposed to what his predecessors had done, and that one of the many hallmarks of this great fraternity is to be conservative and prudent, both in thinking and our operation. And importantly, just as importantly, yet generous in our heart of hearts when dealing with the less fortunate of our members. There are a number of changes that they are looking. He's appointed a committee on technology to try and update, make certain that we are availing ourselves of the latest technology. And one of the things that they're talking about trying to utilize, now what do they call this? The square that is, you now see the electronically, you can put it into your cell phone or your iPad or whatever it is and immediately access all sorts of things. Well, that looks like a Rorschach test. You have to understand that the extent of my technology is an old cell phone that's about this big. You know, I'm struggling to get up to the latest on cell phone. But in any case, there's a committee that's reviewing all those sort of things and trying to adapt them for our use in the future. One of the things that he touched upon was the importance of our Masonic ritual. There had been, in his eyes, a tendency to try and minimize the importance of ritual. And one of the things that we may have discussed earlier on was that many of the lodges were using a short form of closing. And Grand Lodge has made it quite clear that they want us to use the full form closing, except, of course, in the event of an emergency. One of the fun parts of our district meetings every month is what I refer to as the Matt moment. And Matt has always had something profound to say about ritual and answering questions and so on. For those of you brothers who want to improve your ritual work, want to know more, it's an opportunity to ask some questions. One of the things that the Grand Master says in his messages that Masonic ritual is the bedrock that sets our fraternity apart from and above all other fraternal organizations that can be found in our communities. And it is a singular thing that distinguishes this organization. I've long believed that what sets us apart is essentially a three-legged stool. And the best lodges have all three of those components in place. One is the ritual. The second is the fraternal fellowship aspect of our fraternity. And the third, and equally important, because it takes three legs to support a stool, is our charitable outreach. There are two programs that the Grand Master is particularly wants each of the lodges to try and accomplish during the year. The first has to do with programs referred to as the surviving spouses and loved ones, to make sure that we are fulfilling our responsibility to our past brothers, the brothers who are deceased, that we are reaching out to their families, to their widows, that we try to schedule a program here at the lodge in some form or fashion to give them recognition for the husbands or fathers or sons even that may have been that have now passed on. The other program is to make certain that each lodge does an awards night, and that the recognition of term of membership is duly recognized to those brothers who warrant that sort of recognition, and in particular, there's a special 50-year Masonic apron program that Grand Lodge has. And so I would encourage the Secretary, and in his absence, the Treasurer, to be certain that if we have any 50-year members here in White Plains Lodge, that the appropriate recognition be given to them by making sure that the aprons are obtained from Grand Lodge. The Grand Master talked a bit about some of the housekeeping. The Grand Lodge had gotten way behind in publishing the proceedings of Grand Lodge, and actually they were almost 7 years behind in getting out the record of what takes place down at the Grand Lodge sessions. And by the end of the year, he's hopeful that the publications for all these years will be brought up to date. It's now done on a CD-ROM, and if you really have insomnia, it's that sort of reading. But anyway, they're trying to make certain that everything is current down at Grand Lodge. They're also reviewing the constitutions and the related book on Masonic law, and there's a committee reviewing all of that too. One of the things that did occur this year down at Grand Lodge, and they're finally getting into the 21st century to a certain extent, was that they tested and did utilize an electronic balloting system. For those of you who have been down to Grand Lodge sessions in prior years, you may recall that when the time for balloting came, they do as we do here in Lodge. They have paper ballots. And if you had several candidates for a particular position, there might have to be several ballots before you could get down and to a majority for a single candidate. And each time it was done, all these ballots from several thousand brothers present had to be carted off and laboriously counted and recounted before an announcement could be made. And this could take hours. Well, this past year they did an electronic balloting. Everybody got a little device that they could hold in their hands, and when the Grand Master said, "Now ballot," you just pushed a button, and within literally a split second after the end of the time to ballot, which would be a half a minute or so, the results were up on a screen. Now, I understand that historically the Grand Lodge sessions used to be a week long down in New York. And you can imagine 150 years ago, people coming by train or even by wagon or buggy or whatever to Manhattan. And it was a big thing to come from upstate New York to Manhattan for the Grand Lodge sessions. And they would somehow occupy a full week at these sessions. Well, now it's been reduced down to 2 days, and essentially it's like a day and a half, because things have been distilled down, and with this electronic balloting and not having to take hours to count the ballots, They can almost do it in one day, I think. In any case, that's progress. We spoke about a good deal about the importance of the trustees of the Masonic Home and the importance of the work that they do to maintain those facilities. And for those of you who have not been up in recent years, I went 30 years ago, and of course I've been the last couple of years, but the transformation from what was there 30 years ago, when I went up, when I was master, to what they are today, is quite dramatic. And I would encourage anybody to make that journey at one point. And particularly for those younger brothers or newer brothers, there are Masonic courses that you can take. There's what is called a Muni program and a Masonic library, where you can write away for a book. One of the phrases, and I'll conclude on this note, was, and he was paraphrasing an older saying about Masonry: Freemasonry is a life to be lived, not a formality to be instinctively observed. Freemasonry is a life to be lived, not a set of empty creeds to which lip service is given. It is a life grounded in religion, organized in morality, mellowed by good fellowship, humanized in charity, and dedicated to service. And I don't think that I can say it any better than that. So thank you very much, my brothers. Thank you.